I think I've kind of been searching for, like, who am I and what do I want ever since I moved to the desert.
Hi, and welcome to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast, a weekly conversation with women who found their home in the Mojave Desert. I'm Dawn Davis, and this is episode 112. If you'd like more information about the podcast, it's all at the website desertladydiaries.com, and I invite you to engage with the guests, with other listeners, or me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Desert Lady Diaries, or on Twitter at Desert Lady Diary. Janelle Pietrzak is a textile artist and co-founder of All Roads Design Studio and Tiny Shop, based in the high desert near Joshua Tree. Through fiber, she explores varying textures and contrasting elements to create depth and richness in color. Pietrzak covers a wide range in her practice, from commissioned art weavings, high-end design collaborations, licensing, and consulting. Since moving to the desert in 2017, her work has been slowly adapting due to influence of a new environment that includes horizon lines, mountains, and tonal textures. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
What was your first experience with desert?
In 2012, I got a job in LA. I was living in Philadelphia, and so my partner and I drove across country to make the move. We had about 2 weeks, so for some reason Marfa was on our radar. We knew we wanted to stop in Marfa, so I think probably somewhere around the middle of Texas was the first desert we went to, and we stayed in Marfa a couple days and really liked it. And then Joshua Tree was also, we had already booked Joshua Tree, so but from Marfa, we did Painted Desert through Arizona.
Oh, nice.
Then I remember we came through the back way, like through 29, to get here. And we had already booked 2 nights at the Bonita Domes in Joshua Tree. Lisa's place.
Lisa.
Yeah. And this, I mean, again, this is in 2012. Airbnb was pretty new. And so we stayed there, and it was July. It was really hot.
It's so funny. So many people, including myself, this happens in July.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is,
yeah.
but carry on.
We were here for 2 nights, and because we were camping, basically, we didn't have like an indoor to hang out in. So during the day, we were like, oh my God, we have to go somewhere. We can't just be outside all 48 hours. I think that the one whole day we were here, we found a pool in Palm Desert. We went to see the aquatic center there, and that like saved us. And then the next day we made our way to LA. But yeah, that was the first desert.
So what was it? I guess I want to ask first, what was it that on your way out here from the East Coast made you book a place in Joshua Tree?
I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe someone recommended it. I really don't know. Because I definitely had heard of Marfa first. So I remember just being way more aware of Marfa. And I don't know why we came to Joshua Tree, but it must have been a friend recommended it.
Is Marfa in the panhandle of Texas? Where is that?
No, it's close to the border. I think
like past El Paso?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think El Paso is where you fly into to get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty south.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. I haven't been there since, so now I don't even know where it is on the map.
Then you're in LA working, and did you come out here on weekends?
We did. Yeah, I was just looking through old pictures from that year, and we did come out here a lot on the weekends. Also Airbnb. We stayed in houses, and so we got to explore around, and we always just really liked it.
So when it came time to make some decision about leaving LA, how did that all come together?
Well, about a year after moving to LA, because we moved because of my job. I worked at my job for 11 months, and then my hobby of weaving turned into something that I thought could be a real job. And so I was able to quit, and we were in LA for 4 years, and my partner and I were both self-employed, so we were both doing our own work from home. And pretty quickly we realized we didn't need to be in LA, and we didn't want to be. It's just too crazy, and we both needed space that we could afford. So we literally just cast the net all over the country. I've lived all over the country, so I was like, we can go anywhere. And we just kept coming back to the Joshua Tree area. My partner has kids in LA, so it was convenient for them to be able to see them. And yeah, we just kept coming back to here. I mean, we thought about going back east. We thought about going to the Pacific Northwest. But I guess it was the combination of the space and the affordability of here. And since we had been coming out here for 5 years, we knew a handful of people. So it wasn't completely stranger to us. So
you weren't coming out like, I don't know anybody.
Yeah. We knew like good people. So we're like, well, we'll just do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've been out here how long now?
We're starting our 3rd year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just hit like 2 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how has it been?
It's a hard place to live.
Tell me about what that means to you.
Well, I don't know. I think I might have a problem with myself because I've moved around my entire life, every 3 or 4 years, always. So I don't know. I think that maybe now there's something in me that gets me antsy and I've never felt settled. And we moved here really thinking that this would be it. And it's been good in that, I mean, we have like this amazing property that we get to live at, and we have the space that we need. But I don't know, maybe I want everything. Like,
so what's everything?
I guess I want like the accessibility of a city, but I don't want to live in a city.
I get that. Because I came here from downtown LA.
Yeah.
And I still feel that there's a piece of my heart there. I lived there for 3.5 years before I moved out here, and now I've been here a little over 3 years. But I love going back. When I grew up in Jersey, I felt like there would be some time in my life when I would definitely live in Manhattan. So I feel like downtown LA isn't Manhattan, for anybody who doesn't realize that.
Yeah.
But it is a downtown experience, and I feel like I had that. So I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you go down to Palm Springs a lot?
We do. Yeah. We go down there to swim.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it is just a really great place to be able to go to just get out of not be in a dirty place. Like Sandy, like you're always dusty and dirty here. And we'll go down to events and we're like, oh, we're like dressing up.
Right.
And then we get down there and we're like, we are so dirty. Like we're actually covered in dirt. And we thought we were fancy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really nice little staycation.
Respite,
and yeah. Last year we like figured that out. Like just going to stay at a hotel for one night is refreshing.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a city again. I mean, most of the time I drive around here, like to and from my studio, and I'm like so amazed that I get to live in the beautiful place.
Do you think that maybe it's part of it is the desert, as people will say, has a way of really stripping away all of those facades, if you will, that we put up for ourselves and really gets down to who we are, and maybe sometimes those things are hard to...
It's overwhelming. I guess everybody needs therapy. I feel like that could maybe help me. I mean, I've done years and years of that, but I think you have so much time here and you have no distractions, and that is really hard to face yourself. And I think I've kind of been searching for like, who am I and what do I want ever since I moved to the desert, and I still can't figure it out. So I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't think anything's wrong. I think what happens, just my observation from having all these conversations with women and just conversations in general here, is that something happens to us when we come here because of that, because everything's stripped away, because there's nothing here, because it's all sand and very little vegetation. Everything is stripped away. Then it starts to work its way in the silence, starts to really amplify what you're hearing in your own head, and you have to find ways to manage it or try and dig into it and face it. it happens, I think, to a lot of people, whether they recognize it or not. And, you know, you're recognizing it. I've recognized it. Yeah.
I think being faced with all of that in yourself is actually too overwhelming. It's like this quietness that we are in, but for me, it's like there's too much, and I'm like, whoa, maybe I need some noise.
Maybe.
But I love the quiet, and like the mornings are the best.
Gorgeous.
Waking up and doing morning ritual, having coffee and looking up, like that is the best part. And the evenings are also great. It's definitely not an easy place to live.
Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think people need to hear that, because I think there are a lot of people who are like, let's ride this wave out to the desert. It's cool. Everything's cool out there. And like, whoa. Yeah. Maybe not for you.
Right. Right.
You know, yeah.
And also financially. Like,
and I mean the collective you, not you specifically.
Yeah. Financially, it's a hard place to live.
Right.
I mean, living in a tourist place where it's tourist economy, and that is really challenging. And also, like, maybe it's a funny sense of community. Like, there is a community here of like, people who live here all the time. But then just having this influx of, like, new people all the time. I don't know. I've never lived in a place like that.
Transient.
Yeah, it is very transient.
Well, and that brings with it a lot of weird energy in and of itself. Yeah. Not to get too woo-woo. But it does bring it in.
It does. Like, people who are here for all kinds of different reasons. And, I mean, I've moved around a lot, but I'm mostly from Philly, so those are people who have been there for generations. And I wasn't there for generations, but just being around that is, I don't know, that's kind of a cool thing. I don't want to live in Philly again, but I appreciate that about it. There's, like, a soul to it.
Yeah. What brought you to Philadelphia?
I lived in Brooklyn, and I worked in New York, and I just did not. It wasn't for me. So I did that for 3 years, and then Philly was close. So I thought, well, I'll live there. And it was super affordable then. I was in Philly for 7 years. So Philly's the longest place I've ever lived.
That's like my trajectory. Once I left Jersey in 96, it was 6 years here, 6 years there, 6 years here, 6 years there. Now I'm at a little over 3 here. Yeah. So it'll be interesting for me to see what happens in 6 or 7 years, because that's my number, apparently.
I think now that's kind of my number. 6, 7. I guess LA was 6 or 5 or something. But
did you always enjoy weaving? When did you discover this?
Well, I've always worked in textiles. I worked in the fashion industry for 10 years, and I did fabric sourcing. So I was doing textiles, but at a commercial level, working with mills. And I just started weaving as a hobby to have, like, that creative outlet at home, and became obsessed with it. And it was also, this Instagram had just started. It was a way you could build, like, true community and have really good friends through it. And I have still relationships from that time that from Instagram. And this, like, craft fiber movement was just, you know, rumbles of it starting, like the re-emergence of fiber in craft. So I think I was just kind of fortunate at that time.
Timing.
I mean, I couldn't recreate that again. And since I had worked in fashion for 10 years, I went to school for fashion design. As soon as I began working in that industry, you know, in my career, immediately I did not like it.
Really?
It was.
And were you in clothing? Were you in
clothing?
Home?
Yeah. Okay. Apparel. Yeah. I mean, I moved to New York right away, got a job out of college, but the job was like photocopies and filing, and I was like, what? Whoa. This is not fun. I liked making things, and I always liked being hands-on, so I knew that I just wanted to get out of the office and make stuff, but I just didn't know what that would look like.
Right.
And so I couldn't have really planned it. It just happened.
So how did you transition from the apparel industry and then into weaving, but you weren't weaving, were you weaving clothing, or were you weaving?
I was just weaving wall hangings, art, and then everything was just kind of art things. And then Anthropologie asked me to do a collaboration with them doing pillows and throws. So that was my first introduction into home goods.
For someone who is listening and doesn't know what Anthropologie is, can you?
Yeah. It's a women's store that is a whole lifestyle store. It sells apparel, it sells home goods and furnitures, beauty, body, jewelry. Yeah. And it's in malls all over the world.
So in order to get your things in there, was that a result of connections that you had from working there previously, or?
Kind of. The person who reached out to me was actually a friend, but I didn't know her from working there. She didn't work there when I worked there. So a lot of the people who reached out to me, I didn't have a working relationship with, because I did work there for 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you started weaving, like, completely as a business, was it strictly the wall hangings and home decor, if you will, or fine art?
Well, I can tell you how I quit my job.
Okay.
There was like very cut and dry moment. My partner and I had a little pop-up show in LA for 1 month, and we just made all kinds of things. There was weaving, there was furniture, anything. We were just kind of throwing anything at the wall. Right? Yeah. And the weavings, they all sold out, and that was in February. And again, I said Instagram, it just like people posted it, people took pictures of it. And so I got contacted by a few different people that turned into jobs. One was a friend of a friend who was doing interior design for a resort. And she asked me to do these 2 really big wall dividers. And so I got that. And I also got approached by a high-end fashion design house in New York, and they asked me to do a collaboration with them for handbags. And then Anthropologie wanted to place a small wholesale order with things that I made. And so I flew to New York for that design company, got the deposit for the job, and I came back to work. Like, I called out sick on Friday, flew to New York, came back to work on Monday, quit.
Wow.
I gave my 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Which was awesome. Because I hated that job. My boss was so manipulative and really bad. Gave me bad PTSD. So it was really satisfying to be able to quit that job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just like did my 2 weeks and then I hit the ground running.
Wow.
And I thought that I have rent for 3 months with these jobs, so this is what I have to do now.
Yeah. How much time would you say percentage-wise do you spend working, and how much time do you spend, like, marketing or seeking out work? Or
I don't know. I feel like I'm always working. Like,
do you feel like...
Do you mean weaving working? Or
yeah, actually, yeah.
I actually spend the least time weaving.
Really? Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I wove today, actually, but I usually hire people to help me in the studio, and it's kind of when I'm really have deadlines or a lot of work. So the teaching someone to weave is really easy, and so that part is kind of the only thing I can pass off. So I have a lot of help with that, where I design everything and start the pieces, but a lot of times I just teach people how to do the work, and then I am doing quotes, I'm sketching like woven pieces for clients, just the whole process. It's like a lot of office kind of work.
Right, business.
Yeah, admin kind of work. And it's fine. Yeah.
It's what you have to do for now.
Yeah, it's
right.
fine. Yeah.
So since moving to the desert and working in the desert, how would you say your work and designs have changed? What were they looking like before, and what are they looking like now?
Well, I'm really obsessed with yellow, and I feel like that is from being here, just because the light here is like super influential.
It's very golden.
Yeah, the golden light. But then, I don't know, the colors here are like super vivid and colorful. And so, like, this past year, the blooms that we had were so amazing in the spring. So there's so much color here that inspires me so much. I would have never thought that, 7 years ago when I lived in Philly, that the desert would be such a colorful, inspiring place. But the colors here are really, really influential. I don't know, it's not so direct where I'm like, oh, look at those pink flowers, I'm going to weave something pink. It's more subconscious, I guess, of just like seeing it. And then I'm like, oh, I like yellow right now. Or, and then later I can reflect back like where that influence came from. I guess I don't like try too hard to find it. I just absorb it.
And do you buy your materials undyed and make your own colors, or do you buy everything already?
That's a whole nother art.
The buying and finding?
Well, the dyeing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that takes a long time. So I order everything, and I have my sources that I've been ordering from even before I lived here. So that really hasn't changed.
I watched a video, I want to say, was it maybe Urban Outfitters did a little video of makers. And you were talking about llama wool.
Oh, alpaca.
Alpaca, that's it. Yeah. Do you still order from them? Or?
No, I think I remember what I was using alpaca for at that time, but I'm using a lot of hemp fiber right now. And I have for a few years, but it's almost every wall hanging like art piece that I do has hemp fiber. And I mean, it is the color here. It's tan. It looks like the color of our sand.
Yeah.
And I like the rusticness of it, and I like physically the structure that it gives to the weaving because it's very strong, and it just happens to be super sustainable, so that's really cool. I don't ever think about that consciously, like I use hemp because it's sustainable, but I think it's a bonus, and actually I think I should talk about it more. Yeah, because
people are looking for that specifically. So #sustainable.
Like, I don't really use a lot of wool. I mostly use cotton and hemp. And the wool that I do use is pretty much all from New Mexico, from Navajo Churro sheep. It's a really, like, rough, kind of scratchy wool. But they dye in beautiful colors. And,
So would you say most of your work now is commercial? Or do you make things like were you open for Highway 62 art tours? Do you show or exhibit some pieces anywhere? Have you thought about doing that?
Well, I have my work included in shows when people will ask me, and typically I'll just have something in the studio that I can contribute. Because all of my work is commissioned, I don't really have time to just make work.
Or if it's licensed, you have to kind of keep that all to itself, and you can't really use that in other work. Does the designs, does that make a difference?
No, I mean, the licensing to anthropology is, like, I have a lot of ideas, so they can have that idea, and I can come up with more ideas.
Gotcha.
So that's fine. But definitely any kind of commission that I do or collaboration that I do where a client asks me to do something specific, that always informs future work. Gotcha. It's like, oh, never thought about that, or never thought about doing that, or using those colors, and then I'll do the work, and then it like echoes.
Works its way into something else. Yeah.
And so that's a cool thing about working with clients and collaborators, is that it pushes my work in a way that it might not happen.
That's interesting. I was out this weekend. A friend came into town from LA, and we went to various places on art tours, and we stopped at one of the locations that had like 4 different artists, and there was one watercolorist there, Rainey Armstrong, and she literally had her palette, and she was working on some things, and she basically said the exact same thing. She said, one, if people can't see you in your studio, they want to see you at least working. And she said, but I can't tell you how many times someone is watching me work and makes a suggestion about color or, texture or something, and I end up incorporating it, and it's like, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to, use that in other things. So getting inspiration even from just the people that you're creating for.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those different perspectives are challenging, but I always see it as an opportunity to, like, grow through it and see how
well,
what
they're
change
saying
might work.
this is what I want, and so you're like, okay, I'm going to give you what you want, even if in my mind right now it doesn't seem.
I'm like, how am I going to do that?
Right.
I always figure it out.
Yeah, and then it comes out, and you're like, whoa. Cool.
Yeah, surprised.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about living here in the desert and its challenges. What are some of the things that were most surprising to you when you came? Like right off. Not expecting.
The wind.
Yeah.
you know it's hot and sunny, but the wind, and I have been here when it's windy before I ever moved here. But living in the wind is,
My brother was here last week, and it kicked up maybe one day or half a day, and he's like, wow, this wind. I said, you should be here when it goes on for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And I rubber band my chimes because I just can't take it.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, the wind was definitely surprising. I guess the wildlife is pretty amazing and nothing that I had ever really seen before visiting. I mean, you see things when you visit, but when you get to see when the seasons change because the vultures come or
spring and like there's 24 quail chicks running behind their mama.
That is pretty cool, and I didn't know about that. Yeah. I like the seasonal signifiers in nature. Yeah. Pretty neat.
What are some of your places, like your go-to places when you go down to Palm Springs? Or
we end up going to the Ace Hotel a lot.
They have open pool. Is that why that you can go in there? Or
no, you have to pay to go in there, but it's just a place where we like stay,
gravitate. Yeah.
Or people are visiting town and they're staying there, so we just go and meet there. And
favorite restaurants to eat there?
I'm just blanking. I just went down there the other day and ate. I was really into the Viet 533 Fusion place.
Oh.
It's kind of by Ace Hotel. I mean, the name is not great, but the food is really great. And they have a happy hour menu that is from 11 to 6 p.m., so it's basically all day.
Oh my gosh.
This little menu with everything is $5.33 each. Everything comes in a martini glass. But it's really great. So
that's fun.
Yeah, I like that place. And we like to go in Desert Hot Springs to Sam's.
Oh, and so I'm surprised I haven't seen you there.
Yeah.
I have friends that actually live on property.
Whoa.
And then I go down with another friend from here.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, usually at night we go in the evenings.
I don't think I've been since they raised their prices.
Oh, okay. See, and if we go, because they live on property, they have bracelets. So we just, exactly.
Lucky. It's like $25 now.
Oh, is it? I think it's like, if you go on Wednesday, no, wait, what am I thinking about? Either Saturday or Sunday evening down to maybe not the Desert Hot Springs Hotel, but next door. There's another one, Miracle Springs, maybe. I think that's 10 or 15 a person if you go that day. So, yeah, I don't know what Sam's raised theirs to because I don't pay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to go soak.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't know what soaking is, it's Desert Hot Springs has this underground hot springs system, and these spas essentially have been built on the property. They drain the pools at night, and then the next day they just refill them from these natural springs, and it's, I don't know, anywhere from 85 or 90 to 120 degrees. They have many pools. You can dip in whichever temperature feels right, and then they have usually a regular pool if you just want to swim.
Yeah, I try to swim as much as possible.
I like that. Yeah. I enjoy swimming. There's a couple, I think you can pay maybe at the 29 Palms Inn, but it's not really a pool.
I don't think you can anymore.
Oh, really? No?
Yeah. But the Yucca Valley High School in the summer.
Oh, okay.
You can lap swim there.
Okay. And probably the pool in 29.
Lucky Park, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Mental Physics Center.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you could get a monthly there.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, believe it or not, 30 minutes.
That was fast. I can talk about myself a lot.
Before you go, I would love it if you would select 4 numbers between 1 and 50, and your answers to those questions will be exclusive content to my Patreon supporters of the podcast. So what are your numbers?
5, 9, 16.
Okay. Is this the life you thought you'd have when you were a teenager? And then, what keeps you up at night? What is your ultimate vacation destination? And what would you do there? And how do you cope with stress? So if you're listening and you would like to hear Janelle's answers to those questions, go out to desertladydiaries.com, click on the support page, and select the Patreon option to sign up. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Dawn.
I appreciate it.
I have a shout out this week to Cherie S. Cherie, thank you so much for signing up for the weekly newsletter. I really appreciate you. If you live in the Morongo Basin, I want to let you know that I will be sitting down with Dawn Rao, our San Bernardino County 3rd District Supervisor, soon for a Desert Lady Diaries interview. So if you have a question, complaint, or compliment for our discussion, please email it as soon as possible to desertladydiaries@gmail.com. If you missed that, just go to the website, and I know there's a button on there that says email me or a contact page with that email address on it. I'll do my best to either weave it into our conversation or just present it to her outside of our conversation. I am honored and grateful that Dawn has agreed to sit down and talk with me for the podcast, and in turn, all of you. A few of you let me know last week that you took the time to nominate Desert Lady Diaries for the 2019 Discover Pods Awards, and I appreciate that so much. The nominations closed last Wednesday, and I will let you know if I hear anything, and I really appreciate you doing that. It's things like that that can help bring the podcast to more people to hear the stories of the amazing women in this desert basin, so thank you for taking the time to do that. If you've thought about giving sci-fi a try, here's my friend Jean-Paul to tell you about his podcast.
Science fiction stories and interviews blasting straight out of the Mojave Desert and beyond. Space Cowboy Books presents Simultaneous Times Podcast. Free to stream on your favorite podcast player. Find out more at spacecowboybooks.com and be sure to visit our store in Joshua Tree, California.
Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.